Chapter 11. Our Partnership with God. The nearer we are to omnipotence, the greater our strength. Life will take on new meaning, greater dignity, a higher power when we live in constant realization of our at-one-ment with our Creator, our at-one-ment with the One, our partnership with the All-Good. When Christ emphasized the fact that the kingdom of heaven is within us, he meant that this kingdom within is identical with the great cosmic intelligence of the universal mind, and that here we tap the source of all supply. The kingdom that is within us is the kingdom of power. It is in the great within of us that we make wireless connections with omnipotence, with omniscience, with omnipresence. Here is where we actually feel the pulsation of the allness and the everywhereness of God, and are conscious of our connection with the One, our oneness with the All-Good. The greatest discovery of the centuries is the discovery of the identity, the oneness of the mind in our subconscious selves with the great universal mind, the cosmic intelligence. What discovery in 20 centuries, says Dr. Abel T. Allen, compares with this, that man has learned to tap the universal mind, the infinite reservoir of his own soul, and thereby create health, ability, character, or any other quality he may desire. The idea that man can control and adapt to his own growth and enlargement the cosmic intelligence which flows to him through his subconscious self, that by his own power of choice and will this cosmic, creative intelligence everywhere present can be utilized by man as a creative force, is one of the most astounding truths that has ever come to the human mind. Years ago, Henry Ward Beecher said that thinking is creating with God. Yet how few of us realize even today that we cannot think without creating, and that if we think helpful thoughts, unselfish thoughts, love thoughts, we are creating with God. The new thought of God takes God into partnership, and when we realize the divine cooperation in our lives, we think as we, not I. This new thought of God gives us a new conception of man and of his relation to his God. It teaches us that we are a vital, inseparable part of deity, that we are a part of the great creative mind, and that we are creating every day, because we cannot think, we cannot feel, we cannot act without creating something. The new philosophy of life teaches us that there is something in man that is inviolable, something that was never born and will never die, something that cannot be contaminated, that cannot sin. It teaches us that there is a divinity within us which is never impaired, that no matter what happens to the rest of us, this divinity, the God in us, is untarnished, inviolable. A human being's power depends very largely upon his God consciousness, upon his conscious partnership with his Creator. The closer the relation, the closer the man's God consciousness, the consciousness of his oneness with the One, the more power he can express, because he draws upon the limitless resources of his infinite partner. Many people seem to have an idea that the creative intelligence out of which everything we know has been created was, in the beginning, localized somewhere in a creator's mind, but we now know that this great creative intelligence or force is everywhere. We know that it exists in every cell in our bodies, and in every created object. Just as the entire man with all the traits and characteristics of his ancestors, and with his own possibilities and his own destiny, was wrapped up in the microscopic protoplasm which unfolds into the full-grown man, so the future lily, the rose, the tree, the fruit, the vegetable, lives in the apparently unorganized protoplasmic germ from which it started. In these microscopic germs creative intelligence dwells. Every atom, every electron in the universe is the home of the divine intelligence, which creates and sustains all things. This intelligence is not fragmentary in the atom or electron, any more than certain parts of the oak are fragmentary in the acorn. The whole of the mighty oak lives in possibility in the acorn. There is nothing added to the oak which was not an amplification of the cell life in the acorn. What the soil, the chemistry of the sun, the moisture and the atmosphere have added to it were mere helps to the unfolding of the germs in the acorn. What is true of the oak, or any other created thing, is true of man. The entire Lincoln lived in the protoplasmic germ from which he sprang. All his possibilities were there. His environment, his education, the part he played in life were merely helps to unfold, to bring out that possible Lincoln which existed in the protoplasmic germ. The new thought of God shows us that creation has never been finished, that it is a perpetual process which never ceases to be operative. It teaches that the Creator is never separate from his creation, that man is not a separate unit thrown off to sink or swim at the mercy of chance or a cruel destiny, but that he is one with his Maker, united with him in creative work. It declares that he is a part of the infinite intelligence, of the universal mind, and that he expresses so much of the great universal intelligence as he can appropriate and utilize. Anything we ever can need or want is in us awaiting release, awaiting expression. The thought of separateness from our divine source robs us of power to express or create, because we can only have that degree of power which our consciousness embodies. Only that is ours, which we can express. All of our weakness, our troubles, our worries, our fears, our sufferings, our diseases come from our conscious separation from our living, vital, throbbing, creative force. We now know that man is like a partner in an enormous concern. His resources are not limited to his own little capital. He can draw upon the firm as long as there is anything to draw. We are all God's partners, and our capacity for creation depends very largely upon our consciousness of our divine partnership. When man discovers his identity with Spirit, he begins to manifest creation on his own account, says a New Thought writer. No longer a passive instrument, tool, or chessman in the cosmic life, he becomes a center of creative power in himself. It is true that he sees the phenomenal world for what it really is. He sees that prizes and rewards of life are mere baubles and trinkets, and he strives no longer for them for themselves. But, in place of the old illusion, he sees a creative purpose in the cosmic activities, a meaning in the universal becoming, and he smiles and takes his place again on the stage of life, playing his part willingly, cheerfully, confidently, and understandingly. His peep behind the scenes does not interfere with his characterization and the portrayal of his appointed part. On the contrary, he plays his part all the better by reason of his knowing. When we have taken God into partnership, we are conscious that we are God-polarized, that we are in the current which runs Godward. The consciousness of God, of being reinforced and buttressed with infinite power, supported by infinite wisdom, gives a wonderfully increased sense of power. When you realize your divine partnership, it will enlarge your life and multiply your effectiveness, because it will take away from you all sense of uncertainty, all feeling of inability to buffet the storms of life, all sense of hopelessness in the presence of overwhelming odds. It will give a new meaning to living, because you will know that you are not a victim of fate, but that your life is founded upon infallible fundamental principles. When you take God into full, complete partnership, you will never fear. Your life's venture cannot end in chagrin. You will never suffer lack or want, because you will then know that if you want success, prosperity, or anything needful, you must take the material into your mind which will create what you desire. You will head toward your ideals, toward the material which you hold in your mind, and this is the stuff life is made of. You will be led in green pastures and beside the still waters, and you will fear no evil. No pestilence can touch you because you are God-polarized. You are immune from all of the ills of the flesh. Holding steadily in mind the ideals of the things you want to bring to pass, the ideal of the man you want to be, and the things you want to accomplish, is actually necessary to the further process of creating. Think of the miracles man has wrought by holding his ideal in mind and working in cooperation with his God. Compare, for instance, our fruits and vegetables of today with the same kind of fruits and vegetables as they were before man focused his mind upon improving them and lifting them to higher levels. Compare the luscious Indian River orange today with the sour, gnarled, bitter wild orange, the best that nature, unassisted by man, could give us. We know, of course, that man alone, without the creative power implanted in him by God, never could have evolved the luscious fruits and succulent vegetables of all sorts which we enjoy today out of the original inferior products as unassisted nature left them. The marvelous improvements man has made upon the earth in lifting the things which God originally created to higher and ever higher levels can only be accounted for through his co-partnership with his Creator. It is the God in man working with the God in the great cosmic intelligence, which has lifted them to such heights. The work which man has accomplished in a multitude of different ways proves that he is one with God, that he is a co-creator with him, and that together they can do what neither could do alone. They are working together for the betterment of the race. Without the God power which, consciously or unconsciously, is flowing through him, man could do nothing. Alone he would be powerless, and yet it is a strange thing that some of our greatest inventors and discoverers have been skeptics, unbelievers in God, when it was the God in them that helped them to make their inventions or their discoveries. As a matter of fact, when a man invents or discovers that which benefits his fellow men, whether he acknowledges it or not, it is because the creative force in him is cooperating with the divine force in the universal intelligence which is everywhere present. It is the creative force of divinity in Edison that has produced these marvelous inventions and facilities for eliminating drudgery from, and beautifying, life, which Edison and his maker together have given to the world. Did you ever stop to think that practically all of the great inventions and discoveries, improvements and facilities which are emancipating human beings from drudgery and hard, painful conditions and lifting mankind to a higher level were once regarded as impossibilities? Did you ever realize that at one time those who attempted to make these impossibilities realities were ridiculed, called cranks or insane? People thought they were obsessed, but they were obsessed only with the divine urge to create. This obsession would not let them rest until they had realized in the actual the model, which they had first formed in the mind. Think of the innumerable things man has accomplished, even within the past century, how he has triumphed over the obstacles that to the great majority seemed insuperable, and succeeded by his creative energy in literally bringing the ends of the earth together. It is the great God force working with and through them that has enabled men in every age to accomplish the impossible. This force is back of the telephone, back of wireless telegraphy, back of the steamship, the automobile, the airship, back of the moving picture, the phonograph, every invention that has helped the world along its upward path. No inventor can take personal credit for the vision which came to him ready-made. It is in his personal effort, in his persistent self-sacrificing struggle to make his vision a reality that man's strength and divinity are manifested. He is the working medium, but still only the medium, through which the electric light power, the telephone, the wireless, and all the other marvelous things we are now enjoying came to the world. Mr. Edison says that he regards himself merely as a channel between the great cosmic intelligence and the race for the passing along of inventions which benefit mankind. Other great benefactors of the race felt as he does. They did not believe that they really originated the wonderful things which they passed along to posterity, but that their minds were particularly adapted to reaching into the great cosmic ocean of intelligence and attracting the things which they gave to the world. They felt, like Edison, that they were mediums for the transmission of special blessings to man. It is man working with God, the divine force, the God in man working with the great creative divinity, that is lifting the race, improving mankind. Man is not doing this as a separate unit. There is a power in him back of the flesh, but not of it, working with the divine intelligence in the great cosmic ocean of thought, of cosmic intelligence. This power is everywhere operative and is destined to lift every created thing up to the heights of its greatest possibility. This is what is going, above all, to help every man to play his part to the limit of his ability in the great universal drama, to make his highest possible contribution to the universe. This is how the millennium will be brought about, by the cooperation of the divinity in man with the divine intelligence in the cosmic world. There seems to be no limit to man's possibilities as a miracle worker when he works with his God. The brainiest man that ever lived has never yet exhausted in any one direction the cooperative marvels of his Maker. Who can imagine what our fruits, our flowers, our vegetables, our cereals, our animals, will be after another 1,000 years of the cooperative effort of man with God? The chrysanthemum which takes the prize at flower shows today is a miracle of size and beauty compared with the tiny, scrubby chrysanthemum from which it sprang centimes ago. The same thing is true of the rose, the carnation, the pansy, and all garden flowers. At the same rate of improvement, who can foretell what these things will develop into even 100 years from now? The marvelous creations which Luther Burbank, cooperating with his God, has produced in the kingdom of flowers and plants are but indications of what the future will bring. Nature unaided fails is the dictum of science. Luther Burbank is a partner with his Creator. Together they are doing what neither could do alone. Man is a necessary instrument in the creative process. The creator alone never has produced such wonderful things as Burbank and the creator together have produced. Nor are Burbank, Edison, and other noted men exceptions in this respect. We are all co-creators with the great creator of all. Man as God's partner is performing miracles all over the world. He mixes his brains with the soil, and behold, what marvelous creations he calls out, as if he had touched it with a magic wand. By his genius in selecting and combining stocks in the animal and the vegetable world, he evolves the perfect plant, the thoroughbred animal. The same mysterious cosmic intelligence that pushes into the inventor's mind the image and the plan of a great invention is helping the horticulturist, the agriculturist, the stock breeder, the scientist, all who are engaged in creative and productive work. Every great writer, artist, inventor, everyone who has done a really great thing, has felt conscious of receiving suggestions from outside of his own brain, quite apart from what he has received from other sources, books, people, nature, study, etc. In other words, he is conscious of being helped by some great power back of his brain. Great writers, for example, do not deliberately think out in detail the things they are going to write. Pictures come to them, ideas flood their brains. Sometimes with such an onrush do ideas come that they cannot write them all down or even dictate them. In moments of inspiration like this, the poet, the author, the musician, is merely a sort of secretary for the mysterious intelligence back of his brain. Call it what we will, divine force or the cosmic intelligence that exists back of all atoms, in all electrons, there is certainly a formative intelligence that plans and makes the creative artist feel that he is merely the wireless receiving station taking off an immortal message, a message that has been flashed from a divine station somewhere in the universe. How often have messages been transmitted to the inventor during sleep, when he has been totally unconscious of trying to think or plan an invention? How often has the poet received in a dream, as by a flash of illumination, the line or the words he needed to complete a poetic image? Whence come these things? What formed that divine image, which lives first in the artist's brain? He did not deliberately plan that picture which came to him full-orbed, perfect. His own brain did not fashion the idea. He merely reproduced it on canvas. Whence came that model in the sculptor's brain, which his imagination holds until with chisel and mallet and deft hand he calls it out of the marble in a wonderful statue that all but breathes and lives? The sculptor did not deliberately make his mental model, it came to him. He used it to help him call his ideal out of the block of marble. Without it, there would be no statue. There is no other explanation than that it came to him through the great creative mind. All of these things go to show that man and God are one, that they are working together, that they are partners, co-creators, that everywhere they cooperate in producing, creating, improving, uplifting. No one is a real success until he takes God, good, into partnership, until his own purpose and ambition are squared with the divine plan. That is, a man's vocation must at least not run counter to the purpose of the universe, which is based on the unity of all things, which means teamwork. If you are doing things which in some way benefit the race, contribute to its highest welfare, then your career is in tune with the infinite plan. You are cooperating with the Creator in the teamwork of the race. You are a success. But if you are doing something which runs counter to God's world plan, to this great cooperative teamwork of the race, you are a failure, and you cannot be really happy, because you are working in opposition to your Creator. There is something inside of a man which protests against doing that which tends to injure another, that which does not square with his God nature, with the best thing in him, that which is not working in response to his highest aspiration. This is why men who are in questionable vocations never feel quite right about their work. They are never proud of it. Their hearts are not in it. They would rather strangers would not know what they are doing, unless they see in them the marks of the brute, those things which have an affinity for their own animality. I have met professional gamblers, liquor dealers, bartenders, dive keepers, and I have never known one who did not really feel ashamed to have decent people know how they got their living. When a man is selling useful merchandise, working as a section hand on a railroad, as a street cleaner, as a day laborer in any useful field, he is not ashamed of his work, unless, through lack of ambition or for any other reason, he is doing the lower thing when something very much higher is possible to him. But, no matter how humble, needful service, work which helps the race along, is dignified, and, if done in the right spirit, will be an opening to something higher. When you take God into partnership, when you are conscious that you are doing His work, you have a feeling of peace and security. You walk as one who sees a great light because you feel that you have a great partner, one with whom you cannot lose your way. You do not fear failure because you know that your divine partner is the very source of all supply, and you feel safe, reassured. You know that nothing can prevent your success as long as you and your partner are in harmony. Taking God into partnership means that you must not only be honest, but that you must be robustly honest. You know that you cannot lie or cheat or steal. You know that you cannot take advantage of anybody. You know that you must be kind and considerate to all. You know that you cannot be greedy or grasping, and at the same time work with God. If you take God into partnership, you know that you must be clean and pure-minded. You know that you cannot indulge in low, sensual pleasures. You know you cannot do anything which will degrade another or push further down one who is already on the downgrade. Your plea that that one is already bad is no excuse for you. If you take God into partnership, you cannot despoil or desecrate His creature. She is your sister. You cannot take advantage of God's child and have God for a partner, because you will then be working against Him instead of with Him. Thousands of young men start with God as a partner and lose Him because He will not do business with a man who is not clean, pure, and honest. If you would keep God as a partner, you must do right and be right. I am the life and substance of the greater mind, says Paul Ellsworth, and the recognition of this truth frees me from every false desire. When you realize that you are one with the greater mind, you will naturally take God into partnership and work in perfect harmony with Him. This will give a new meaning to your life, and will turn you around completely so that you will see the things that are really worthwhile. You will see a new world. You will have a new zest in life, a new ambition, an ambition for the attainment of the higher things, the things that give enduring satisfaction. You will lose interest in that which, before you thought essential imperative, to your happiness. The things you drop will not be wrenched away from you. You will drop them voluntarily for something better, just as the child will drop the apple for the orange for the toy, and the toy in turn for something better, something bigger and more attractive. Your motto will then be, "The best of everything belongs to me because I am working in harmony with the Creator and inherit the best from the King of Kings." When we have a partner who is the reality of wisdom, of love, of justice, a partner who is the very source of all supply, we do not fear want, we do not fear poverty, we do not fear sickness or death. We fear nothing because we know we are united with omnipotent power, and that nothing but ourselves can sever this divine connection.